It's been a few weeks between videos. I've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I have just launched my online store. So I'll have a link in the description below. Check it out, go have a look. I sell a lot of the DIY frame parts that you've seen in previous episodes, me using to build frames, etc. So jump over, have a look at that. It might be something you're interested in if you're building frames like I do. For you American players, it's going to be super cheap because it's all in Australian dollar and you guys' exchange rate is killer. So jump over, have a look at that. If there's stuff sold out already, I'm getting onto it. I will restock. Just send me an email or whatever if you're interested in something. So in this episode, I'm going to be rebuilding this Springer. Something a little bit different, but my buddy Danny Fraser just did like 20,000 Ks on this Springer and flogged out all the bushes. So if you've picked up a shitty little Springer like this from your local swap meet, or maybe you've done 20,000 Ks and flogged out all the bushes, I'm going to completely go through this, rebush the whole thing, and show you step by step what you need to look at. So something you're interested in, stick around. This is just your regular old sort of Springer style deal. You know, you got your brass bushes and all that sort of shit through it as your perishable parts, so your consumables as you'd call it. So this thing I got off him a while ago. You might, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I replaced his rear legs because he bent them. So this is like a 10 over Springer, say, and he had a little issue. He took his foot off the clutch, foot clutch bike, and he pushed it into his tractor tire. And that basically pushed the front end back and bent these rear legs. Now, I had to remake these, and I made them out of solid 4140. So before, they were like a hollow, they looked like a 1045, they were nothing special, and they were just chrome. They were so thin, like, I don't know how he got away with riding it as much as he did without bending them on the road, but anywho, follow me on Instagram, you'll see all sorts of different things like this that I do. But as I said, I replaced the rear legs on this and put 4140 solid tubes in that. So he has just done a huge ride down south of Australia, all around Melbourne and all that, down through Tasmania and everything on his generator shovel, which this front end is on. And he probably did over 10,000 kilometers. So this front end has absolutely copped it. So when it left here last time, this is pretty well brand new bushes and everything in this front end. So if you were to rebuild one of these things like I'm about to, you want to check a few things. So as you can see, this is the main issue here. One of his bushes is absolutely flogged. So we know that's an issue. This one is pretty flogged too. All these are also all flogged out. Like these ones, you can see in here how flogged out these are. Like these just move around. So I'm going to blow this thing apart. We're going to get out all the brass consumable pieces out of this and we're going to make new stuff. Alright, so I have Danny's Springer all blown apart here. This is something you're going to have to do if you want to rebuild one of these things. You got to pull the thing completely down, pull out all your brass pieces, all the perishable bits, and have a look how much wear they've got. So Danny has caught this thing just in the nick of time. As you can see, it's just worn through this part of the bush here. So that was just starting to be steel on steel. And these bushes are, as you can see, that shoulder in them, they are wearing away too, so they are on the way out. So they will have to be remade. I'll have to do that. To the top of the Springer, these little bits, so these bits run on the front tube, the sprung bit. They are all over the shop, so I'll have to remake those as well. So those two I'll have to remake. All the alloy bits are the bases for the springs and all that stuff. That stuff is fine, so I don't have to touch any of that. But Basically, this is how you rebuild one of these things. Pull it completely apart like this, find what needs to be remade and remake it. Little tip with these things, see how this bolt has the threaded bit and also the legs are threaded, and then there's a nut on the other side. That's so you can screw this in till the right pretension and then put the nut on the other side and lock it up. So you're not just tightening this thing against the bush that has to move in here like that. You're not just tightening up against it. You actually set the preload on it. So you just put a little bit of, just so it's firm, not so it's tight, so that it'll wear heaps, just so it's firm. And then you lock it up with the nut, and that's how you make sure it doesn't move. So next step is I'm gonna have to buy some material and I'll get to making this stuff. All right, so basically I have all my shit here. I've bought the material I need. I've worked out what reams I need and drills, etc. So I've got everything I need to make these bushes now. So obviously you want to buy material that is either a little bit bigger or exactly the right size, so you don't have to take any material off. So I've got 1 3/4 and inch for my bushes. So these original bushes, they look like just copper. So copper is good, but it is super soft. So something that has a hardened shoulder like this that it rides on. So this bush rides on this hardened bolt, right? When there is a hardened surface like that, you use what's called phosphor bronze. So this is a lot harder, a lot better for shock loading and impact and stuff than copper is. Like I said, super soft, where this stuff is super strong and lasts a lot longer. Perfect for bushes and stuff. So the other thing I noticed with this is that this bush is supposed to press into this so that this bolt rides on the inside. But at the moment you can see that it's wearing on the outside. So that's wearing in the wrong spots. But it's telling me that this was not a press-in fit into this arm. So that this was turning in the arm and riding in there instead of turning on the bolt. So that's something I'll have to do better when I machine these. I'll make sure these are a press fit into this so that they actually ride and wear on the bolt instead of wearing on the outside on the arm. So basically I have my reams and stuff here. These are just so you can repeat a very accurate size over and over. You don't have to machine it. So I'm going to put the reams through after they're pressed into the body of this, because once you press it in, it will change the ID. So you do your reams, you do a rough size, and then you do your ream after it's pressed in. So I think I'm going to start with these bushes because they're the easy ones. So I'm going to start with this, make sure I get my head around the lathe, get used to it again before I go and do the harder stuff, because this material is not cheap. So I want to do a good job of it. So let's go over to the lathe and start doing this. All right, so you watch me just machine these guys. So these are the ones that press into this top plate. So they press in there, they're really tight fit. And then they ride inside here. So as you can see, I've got a little bit of play there, and there's two reasons for that. Reason one is that this has been chromed. This was a 3/4 shaft, but it's been chromed, so now it's over. So I put my ream through it and it didn't fucking fit. So I had to put a boring bar through this and bore this out another 10 or 15 thou. So you're probably thinking, oh, look how loose he's made it. But this is a press-in fit into this top plate. So this ID will shrink probably 5 thou, and that'll take up all that slop and it'll be nice and firm. You don't want these things too fucking tight because they'll just wear themselves out. Another thing that these don't have, which they should have, if you have a look in these original ones, where is it? In the side there, you see that hole? That is for the grease nipple. But if you have a look on the inside, the grease will only go into one spot. So what you want to do in there, you want to put a little groove with your boring bar around the whole thing, so that when you pump grease into this and then through into the hole, it puts grease around the whole thing instead of just in one spot. So with that hole as well, you want to drill that after you've pressed it in, because then you don't have to worry about lining this guy up and pressing it in the right spot. So I'm going to put the groove in these ones, and then I'm going to press them in, and then I'm going to drill that hole for the grease to go into. So I've done those now. I'm going to leave them alone, I think, and I'm going to start doing these guys. So I'll go back to do some time lapse of that, and you'll see me make these little guys. Right, so as you just saw in my little time lapse, I machined up these little rocker bushes. So you might remember before, the bushes were flogged out like this, and that's because they were loose inside the rocker and turning instead of them turning on the bolts where the grease is. So to combat that, we need to press these into the rocker arm so that they can't spin. So these and probably all early stuff are probably going to be all over the shop, so you need to get a mic in there, measure them in a few spots, and then work out what size your bushes need to be to press in here. So because I've just roughly machined out this hole, I just made that a rough size under what we're going to ream it to, and then we'll press it in and then ream it. So if this hole is oval or anything stupid like that, it doesn't matter, because we're going to ream it after we press it in. So basically, I machine these things 2 to 4 thou bigger than our holes, so that I have a massive crush in there and these things will never spin. So I have mic'd these up, worked out one's a little bit smaller than the other, so I put an S on one so I know where it presses in. So let's go over to my trusty little press here and we will press these in. All right, so we're over here at my humble little press, and basically the way these work, these go through all the way through and then they stick out the other side, and then there's this little washer here that presses on, and that encapsulates it, so it's a complete unit. So it'll wear on the inside and the outside, and obviously internally as well. So basically the reason that's important is because we don't push this the whole way through and then keep pushing and then flatten the bottom of it because we haven't noticed it. So the other thing, you want to make sure you got these round the right way, because I want the washer on the inside so that we can't lose it, like I just did. And then we want to be able to press it on the other side. So I'm going to get these started, and then we will go and do the washer side. So basically, to start them, you want to be pretty ginger with it and make sure you're pressing it in straight. So as you can see, that's sort of straightened up a bit. And you push it in a little bit, and then you take pressure off and then put it to the center, and then on she goes like that. Like I said, yeah, I don't want to push these through the whole way, because then we'll push it into the press and we'll fuck them. So let's start this one as well. There we go. See that? Nice press in, and then it's hit the bottom like that. So as you can see, that one's flush with the bottom now. So I just have this little packer that I'm going to use so that I can press it through it. So make sure that is in line with it. Oh, no, must be hitting the side. Just got to be, sometimes it's good using one of these smaller presses. So there's a lot more feel to it. You can actually feel when something's going wrong. On a big press, you might just send it home and absolutely fuck it. So as you can see we're pushed through, we're nice and flush here, and we have the bit extruding out the back. So that's perfect. So I'll do the same to this guy. Okay, sweet. So that is both of them pushed all the way through now. So as I said, these washers go on afterwards, like this. I'm just going to get a little packer just to help that out a bit. So we will push it on afterwards like this. Same thing, you want to have a look. Doesn't feel good. So, yep. That's basically it. So you see I've pressed the washer on and I've pressed the inner sleeve on. So now what we're going to do before we ream this, I'm going to take the grease nipples out and then drill the hole through for the grease to go through. And then I'll show you how to ream these things. But I'll push this last one on and then I'll show you the rest. This one's a bit ginger. Gotta be a bit careful with this one. There it is. Thanks for coming. Alright, so we're just over here at the drill press. I want to drill out the grease nipples. So obviously I've taken them out and I'm going to put it in here just so I get a nice straight drill, not just chuck it in a fucking vise and do it with a hand drill because that's dodgy as shit. So I'm just using a pretty small drill bit because we don't need to drill it out the whole size because that's just going to destroy the bush we just made and put a big hole in it, and then that'll be a high wear point. So you just want to use a small drill bit because the grease will get through, no worries, that doesn't really matter. And we just want to smash these holes in. So that is the holes for the grease nipples drilled. And as I said, it doesn't matter because we're going to ream this afterwards. We don't have to worry about deburring any of that. And now I will set up said fucking, oh man, I've ruined that. All right, so that is the grease holes pretty well sorted. As I said, it doesn't matter that we have a burr on the inside because we're going to ream this afterwards. So anyway, I'll set up and ream this and then I'll show you how we're going to do that. All right, so let's talk about reams. So you can get a machine ream or a hand ream. This is a hand ream. And these are super easy to use because they're tapered, right? So the bottom of it's smaller and then at the top is your desired size. So this is 1/2 inch. So as you can see, it goes in a little bit and then it stops. So that is what's a hand ream, and you can use these with just a normal tap wrench, or you can put them, if you're a dodgy bloke like me, you can just put them in your drill and put it on super low. You want it as slow as possible and use heaps of oil. So let's fucking try this out, eh? So as slow as your drill possibly goes, this is probably a bit fast, but this is what my drill does. And then you just want to slowly make your way through it. Plenty of oil, coming in and out a few times. And you just want to go the entirety of the way through. Just like that. And now your hole is going to be perfectly to size. Like my little thing. Just like that. So that is perfect. There's barely any movement in that. It's exactly what you want. And then as I said, because we've done the hole beforehand, there's no burr on the hole, so that is perfect to go. So I'm going to go through and do the other one, and then we will go have a look at this thing and work out what's next. All right, so I got my little rockers all finished here. I just had to file the back of it to make them both the same so nothing protrudes. So they are all pressed together. Both done. I put both the grease nipples in, so that is them sorted. So I just got to put these bushes into this top mount now. Like I said, I put the little groove inside it so that when I drill the grease hole afterwards, it's going to line up with that groove and then put grease around the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead, press these into that plate, and then we will put this spring in together, I reckon. So I'll go over to me trusty little press there and do this. All right, so all my bits are done now. As you just saw, I drilled the holes for these bushes. They're all pressed in and done. These are obviously still done. I've cleaned all the springs, all the little bits and bobs for it. Both legs are all cleaned. I had to take a little bit off the chrome of this just so that my bushes fit, because if they were too big to fit over this top bit, they would be super loose down here. So I just gave that a little bit of a file around there to make that sorted. So I'm just gonna time lapse this and put this all together. All right, so that is the springer completely done, finished, all greased up, all Loctited, ready to go. So you can see down here, all the brand new bushes and everything, all in, all ready to go. Heaps of grease when you put this stuff together, heaps of red Loctite on all your threads so nothing ever comes loose. And as I said, you don't want these things super tight, you want them just nipped up so that you can push on this thing and it'll compress still. So you want to be able to push on it with your weight and compress this, and that's how you know it's set up well and it's not going to wear too much when it's too tight. So that is this springer completely done, ready to go back on Danny's bike and do a heap more Ks. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.